Welcome. This is the 17th annual Wendell Whiteman Memorial Lecture. Since 1992, this exceptional series has brought some of the finest business minds to our campus and our community. In many cases, there is something that ties the speaker to Monmouth as a community and as a college. Recent lecturer Matt Flannery, CEO of Kiva.org, his career was assisted by Monmouth College trustee Jerry Marksman, and Microsoft executive, recent lecturer Steve Skinner, grew up in Monmouth and did his schooling in town but not at the college. Of course, we are always thrilled when the tie to Monmouth is even more direct, and that's the case today. Our speaker will join a growing list of Whiteman lecturers who did their education at Monmouth College. Those speakers include Harold Poling, retired CEO of Ford Motor Company, the late Jim Pate, CEO of Pennzoil, John Corson, President and CEO of the Mortgage Bankers Association, and of course Walter Huff, the most generous donor in Monmouth College history. This lecture series is intended to inspire young minds to aspire to positions of leadership in industry and commerce, from which they can use their intellectual and leadership skills to actively engage themselves in solving the problems of our country and our society. We believe it is especially inspiring for our students when they can hear from someone who has also studied at Wallace Hall or Hughes Library or lived in the same dormitory that they did. The Whiteman Lecture Series was the vision of three of our most distinguished alumni, who also happen to be brothers and successful businessmen of their own right. Don, Ralph, and Dick Whiteman not only conceived and funded this unique lecture series through a generous donation, but it is their intent that the Whiteman Lecture Series memorialize their father, Wendell Whiteman, of the class of 1927, a longtime executive at Security Savings here in Monmouth. However, their primary purpose in sponsoring this series is to provide a forum of contemporary ideas that will excite the next generation of leaders, excite them to dream, innovate, and carry on the great American entrepreneurial tradition. The Whiteman family has long been a friend of education in this community, and we are proud to have two of them here today. Don Whiteman couldn't be with us, but Ralph and Dick, would you please stand and be recognized? It is a Whiteman lecture tradition to have one of the student body's most promising future leaders introduce our guest speaker. This year the honor goes to Justine Boone, a senior business administration and economics major who clearly knows the value of hard work. Justine has earned numerous Dean's List honors to go with the academic all-conference honors she's achieved while playing for the Fighting Scots women's basketball team. Her aspirations for a career in sports management or sports marketing helped land a summer internship with the Quad City River Bandits, a minor league baseball team, and she currently serves as a marketing manager for Scott's Roast, a coffee roasting and distribution business that is a partnership between the college's business and science departments. Justine held a series of leadership roles in athletics too. She served as captain of the basketball team, where she set the school record for season and career steals, and was an all-conference selection as a member of our most successful basketball team in the college's history. I would now like to invite Justine up to the stage to introduce today's distinguished lecturer.
If you're like me, studying theory is fine, but from time to time, I like to see proof. Today's speaker provides that proof. From our days as prospective students to our meetings on campus with advisors and professors, we are told that a Monmouth College education can prepare us for real-world success. Our speaker, who graduated from Monmouth in 1980, has accomplished such success. Beginning as a sales manager while still in his 20s, he has risen to the president and CEO of Sonosite Incorporated, a medical technology company in Washington State. His Whiteman lecture today will fill us all in on just how that was accomplished and the role that Monmouth College has played. We also hear a lot in Monmouth these days about the integration of science and business, especially as the college moves closer to constructing a single facility to house these two important disciplines. Our speaker today provides proof that an understanding of both subjects is vital in today's world. He studied business administration at Monmouth, and he has fused that education, which he furthered through the executive program at the Stanford University Graduate School of Business, with on-the-job training in medical technology. His company provides hand-carried ultrasound for traditional uses such as obstetrics and gynecology, but also for less traditional areas like emergency medicine and anesthesiology. Led by today's speaker, Sonosite Incorporated is helping to change the world by improving ways that medical conditions such as blood flow in the heart can be diagnosed. We always hear that Monmouth College graduates can change the world. I am pleased today to introduce your proof. Please join me in welcoming this year's Whiteman Lecturer, Mr. Kevin Goodwin.
Well, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me back there. We're not echoing too much. First of all, let me say thank you for coming out to hear me talk. It's been a long-held dream of mine to come back to Monmouth, not to talk about myself, but rather to explain to you what it is that happened to me here and what it's led to. And if there's one thought I can impart to the students that to me has been the most important thought of all, it's that of curiosity. That's what I discovered at Monmouth College, and the other idea that goes with that is never sell yourself short. Never let your fear get in the way of what might happen in the future, because you'll never, ever reach your dreams if you do that. And for me, if someone would have said 31 years ago that you'll be running a company that is transforming medicine and replacing the stethoscope that will grow from 0 to 300 million in 14 years, and you'll be going back to Monmouth College to talk about it, I would have looked at him like, you've got to be kidding me, are you serious? But in fact, I've had many epiphanies like that, and I can tell you it absolutely relates to my experience at Monmouth College. I didn't figure that out, though, for many years. I had done very well in the business world and had a good career. In fact, I'll let you look at what I've done while I mention this, but about 20 years into my career, a CEO mentor of mine said to me, you know what really separates you from everyone else in the company, and the reason we want to put you in this job is your curiosity. And I was sitting in his office thinking to myself, now where did that start? And the fact of the matter is, it started at the end of my sophomore year in intermediate price theory, a managerial economics course I took with Dr. Lemon. Up until that time, I was a pretty mediocre student. I came out of the southern suburbs of Chicago with a middle-class family who borrowed money to send me to college. I wasn't really putting a lot of effort into studies the first couple of years, more into sports and goofing around. And then I realized, as I was heading to the middle of my college years, I didn't want to be mediocre. I really did not want to be average. So I went back to school, and I happened to bump into Dr. Lemon and take this class. It's really about managing a company and using economic principles for that purpose. And he worked with me. He was very encouraging. I got an A. I put together a string of 18 A's and 3 B's the next 2 years, and I was off. But I didn't realize what had happened, and it was curiosity. I never stopped looking to learn. And as I graduated from college, I went on to take some mathematics after school because I felt like I needed it. I took more economics because he had really lit that up inside of me. And then I went on to have a business career where I started off running a distribution center. Wasn't very glamorous. I was in blue jeans and a t-shirt supervising truck drivers. And I did well. Jumped over to a job that led me to Atlanta, where I did very well as an area operations manager. In fact, I did so well I got fired. And that was another lesson in life, which is that when us young folks come up through the world and we start asking a lot of questions and look at changing the status quo, you're going to run into somebody above you who doesn't like that idea. And all I would say is keep asking questions and follow your instincts, because you're on the right path. But remember this idea of curiosity, because curiosity really has continued to open doors for me, and I've had epiphany after epiphany over the last 30 years, and it's really a pleasure to come back and just talk to you a little bit about this. What I'm most excited about is the company. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about myself now, but I'd like to move on and tell you what we're doing here at this company called Sonosite, because it illustrates a broad opportunity in life sciences. Life sciences is this broad community in the American economy that basically delivers things to the healthcare system. So it could be pharmaceuticals, it could be med tech, anything within the realm of products that improve lives, increase longevity, prevent death. It's quite a broad sector. The marketplace for life sciences, of course, is the healthcare sector, hospitals, doctors, and patients. And I've had a great career in that sector. I decided to go into healthcare prior to college. I came to Monmouth primarily because they had a hospital administration internship program and basketball, really. And I left the school just totally switched on about economics. In fact, the pivotal moment for me was in the spring of my last year. I had a choice: go to Knox College with Dr. Lemon to an economics lecture, or take batting practice with Dr. Glasgow. And I followed my heart and said, "Coach, I think I want to go to the lecture." And he says, "Well, that's a good idea. Why don't you do that and we'll call it a day." And truthfully, I have to say Glasgow was very supportive of that decision. It made me feel good. I still remember it. So on I went, and I've really never stopped following that curiosity in myself. And that's what I want to illustrate today. Let me shift over now and talk to you about this company of ours. Now, ultrasound is a technology that employs sonar. Basically, if you ever looked at a picture of a boat with a sonar beam coming off the bottom and sending a wave into the water, that is essentially what ultrasound does. And we use these ceramic wands, and we put some electricity into them, and they basically send a big bunch of sound beams into the body. The field went through a major renaissance in the late 80s. The machines got very big, as you see to the left here. That would be a typical ultrasound machine back in the late 80s when I entered the industry. And they got very good. They could look at the soft tissue in the body, the heart, the vessels, everything but bone. That also can map the flow of blood through the body and through the heart and actually quantify it. So these machines grew up into a multi-billion-dollar industry. I was a part of that. Now our company was spun off in April 6th of 1998. Today is the first day of the 15th year of the company. Yesterday was the end of the 14th year. And what we specialize in doing is putting the circuitry on these large-scale ultrasounds onto just a few chips and a single circuit board and miniaturizing it and simplifying it. Now, when we started the company, we had many people tell me, "You're crazy. There's already enough ultrasound. What do we need more ultrasound for? Who's going to use it?" And I knew better, but again, it wasn't conventional wisdom I was dealing with. It was intuition based on curiosity. So off we went, and we set up a company. We spun it out as a public company on April 6, 98. Now, I was at the 21 Club in New York City in Manhattan in March of 98, presenting the company. We were made public right from the beginning. We had no revenue, no product. We had 45 engineers, and we had $30 million in cash. And some very smart people from Goldman Sachs, they raised their hand and said, "Mr. Goodwin, let me understand something. You don't have any product. You have no revenue, right?" And I said, "Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we can make the product work, but we're not done with it yet." And he said, "Okay, goodbye." And I had many a smart person from the business schools, if you will, tell us we would never make it. And then in the 14 years that have transpired, I've had many people say, and still say, "Well, if GE, Siemens, or Philips want to come into your business, they can do so, and they can knock you down." And it's never happened. We've repelled them year in and year out. We specialize, we focus, we use common sense, we take care of our customers, we employ what I call a lot of good old-fashioned Midwestern values. We keep it simple, and we're winning. Last year we did $275 million of revenue and had an outstanding year overall. And you'll see some pictures here of what we're doing in just a moment. So who we are considered to be the company that pioneered point-of-care ultrasound. There's something in this lecture today for everyone, including the sports guys and ladies. And I'll get to that in just a minute. But most importantly, we have democratized ultrasound, put it in people's hands, just like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates have put computing in your hands, just like smartphones have put telephony and computing together in your hands. We are basically replacing the stethoscope in the long term. You would be amazed at how medicine has been done over the years, blindly. Simple tasks like putting a catheter in a patient's neck has been done using the landmark technique, which basically means the doctor knows where the anatomy is, assuming it's not atypical anatomy. In goes the catheter. If they happen to nick the wrong artery and you get a stroke, well, start again. And that has been how medicine is operated. We're changing that by allowing them to visualize. So we focus on improving the quality of care, patient safety, and helping lower cost at a time when health systems need it more than ever. And we've got a very bizarre health system in this country. We're the only country in the world where we have a health industry. It's 1/7 of our economy. Every other country in the world has a health system. That means the government figures out how to deliver health care and fund it privately or publicly. but it's not an industry. You don't have hospitals and insurance companies and device companies and pharmaceutical companies fighting for the pie. So whatever you think of Obama, I will say he had a lot of guts just to go as far as he did. He didn't get it quite right, but I think we'll see a tremendous amount of change in healthcare. To the students, think about life sciences. I landed in life sciences. It is a tremendous field. It's somewhat overshadowed at times by IT and the internet, but it's a tremendous opportunity with long-term growth potential that's unstoppable. So we do these things here. We reduce costs. We try to improve the efficiency of healthcare. We make the physician more confident. You'll see some very interesting photos and movies here in a second. But just think for a second. The stethoscope is a couple hundred years old. They put the stethoscope on your chest and they listen for sounds. And that is about as far as they can go with it. A click or a third sound. That's it. We're saying, why don't you look at the heart? Flip a device on and visualize the heart. Surprise, surprise, it's a no-brainer. And so it's been taking off, but believe it or not, however simple it seems, American medicine is loaded with politics and loaded with vested interest. I'll talk in a moment about sports medicine and talk about what's happening there, but you'll be surprised how hard it is to work through the politics of medicine. So we have a very good cost-benefit profile. We are very low-cost technology. We sell our devices in large amounts. We just sold 50 systems in January, Mayo Health Systems across the USA, which is one of the premier health systems in America. And we do this all the time. We work with OSF, St. John's, and Springfield. We are a very, very large-scale company, growing very fast. In fact, one of my most really proudest accomplishments, this is our growth trajectory since we started. So we started with zero in 99 or 98, really, 1 million of license revenue, and have grown at 60% a year, compounded over that time frame. And I've learned some valuable lessons as a CEO. Most people think that what you're supposed to do is go out, make a product, try to make as much revenue as possible, and eventually start making profits, right? That's the basic idea, make a profit. We purposely postponed profit making. Our board was very wise. Our board directed me, they said, look, how big is this opportunity? I said, it's so big, it's hard to quantify. Then let's invest in losses. Let's take our money. We had raised $160 million in capital over the course of a couple of years from Wall Street. And we decided to go ahead and invest that capital in losing money and building infrastructure and capabilities and new products and a host of things. Wall Street didn't like that. If you looked at our stock price, it looks like an EKG. It's quite volatile. And the board said, don't worry about those guys. The world of Wall Street is fickle. There's a small cadre of people in Wall Street that invest their money on your behalf. Most of them traded on their behalf. And once I figured that out, it was like a major weight off my shoulders. So in the first several years, we lost $85 million cumulatively. In the years that followed, we earned about $34 million. And in the last 4 years, we've earned $108 million in profits. And that's what long-term thinking looks like in a business. Now, was it easy? Was it a straight line? No. Did I have a tremendous amount of stress? Absolutely. But I would not change a thing. And it's been a lot of fun. I've been doing this for a long time. I still get up in the morning. I'm very excited. And I'm telling you for sure that it started here. Okay? I found curiosity here. Had I not found that, had Dr. Lemon not taken the time to build a relationship with me and encourage me at a time when I was really vulnerable, I could have gone either way. I knew I didn't want to be average, but I didn't know exactly what to do next. He really helped, and I can't say enough about the Monmouth College experience. I think it's a great time to be an undergraduate. As I told Don on the phone, we have fired more MBAs than we've hired. And we love undergraduates, because undergraduates, if they come out with some basic skills and a good attitude, like we find in the Midwest, they're invaluable. And later on, I'll talk about what I think that value is all about. But you should be very encouraged. When I graduated, we had 20% inflation, 20% interest rates. Jimmy Carter was in office. We had double-digit unemployment. I was from Chicago. All we heard about was the Rust Belt. And I was luckily, sort of turned in the direction of healthcare by a family friend and my dad. And here I am. And I never felt a recession really my whole life, with the exception of 2009, when the world almost came to an end. So in any event, what do managers do? Okay, so what is a manager supposed to do? A manager, it doesn't matter whether it's for profit or not for profit. You take capital, you take resources, and you allocate that capital. You invest it. And this is an example of what I mean. We spent about $20 million trying to create our first product, and in the first year we generated $25 million of revenue. Okay, that's not bad. The second year, not the second year, but the second phase, we invested another $20 million and got a $56 million return. Now, I'm just talking about the first year. These products have multi-year life cycles. Then in 2006, we came out with yet another product, and we had $96 million of revenue in the first year. And then my board went crazy and said, you know, we ought to increase our spending 60% on research and development. I said, well, the investment committee is going to freak out because they're not expecting this. And we went ahead and did it. And we came out with this new product platform called the Turbo. We did $143 million in the first year and have done over $500 million in 4 years. So what I'm trying to say here is that you take capital, you take time, money, and resources, and your job is to allocate it with discipline and have a sense of where your opportunity is. And this is what it looks like. You don't see me talking about profits, but you saw on the other chart the revenue growth and profits that follow. And there's an amazing amount of common sense available in business. That's why we love undergraduates, because you tend to have more common sense than the people who are with more advanced degrees, no offense. The other thing we're doing is we're investing in a global business footprint. Now, this is a very important part of my life. If you would have told me 31 years ago, Kevin, you'll be flying all over Asia, Latin America, you'll speak Brazilian Portuguese, you'll be traveling all over China, India, Japan, you'll be all over the place doing business from little Monmouth College in Monmouth, Illinois, I would have said, really? You know, when I was in college here, we had a very large contingent of Malaysian students. And I regretted not connecting with them because here I was, years later in Singapore, which is a little city-state next to Malaysia, and I was doing business, and I looked out at the water, which is really the Pacific Ocean, and I said to myself, you know, the U.S. is not the center of the world. And for all those years, I believed that the U.S. was the center of the world. We think that, you know, we're taught that here. It's a very Midwestern thing, in fact, but nonetheless, it's a very American thing, that the U.S. is the center of the world. It is not. The world is a broad, diversified place, very interesting. My curiosity idea was confirmed over in Asia. In Confucian culture, religion, lifelong learning is a basic value. And I'm not talking about intensive study like we're used to seeing from students of Asia who are very, very disciplined academically. I'm talking about lifelong curiosity. It's a basic social value over there. Would never have known that had I not traveled. And so I've had the opportunity to go all over the world, pick up some language, and it's been quite a great experience to see the world get smaller and to put our company together on a global basis. Now I'm going to move over now to talking about what do they do with this technology. Some of this should be very interesting to you. Hopefully, my goal wasn't to talk about myself, but as much to maybe entertain you a little bit. Internal bleeding, very simple problem. You fall down on a mountain, you get hit in a car accident. You've got about an hour in your life, if you start bleeding internally, to actually live. And they can quickly figure that out with what's called a focused abdominal sonography for trauma, FAST exam. Here's an example of a guy at USC, LA County. Real case. That's our product up to the left. You may recognize that from the iPhone 4 commercial. And they're looking at his thorax, his chest, to find fluid, all working together. That's Sonia Johnson, who's a trauma surgeon. LA County is the biggest trauma center in the world. It is really like it's just a massive high-volume trauma center. And they use our devices in every bay. They handle about hundreds of traumas per day. And LA is an absolute best from the standpoint of gunshot wounds and car accidents. So this is one example of just a quick 5 minutes. I know you're in surgery. If I fool around and I put you in a CT scan, you might die. So this is how we're helping medicine. This is a guy who got run over by a car, and what they have to do, put a girdle on him, they've got to look at his abdomen to see if he's got a broken pelvis, but they can't move him. So with ultrasound, they'll quickly look at him and try to figure out what's going on. Here's another example of for bleeding in the body. That's the kidney to the right, that little peanut-looking thing. And that black stuff there, that's the liver. And what they do is quickly assess your body to see what's going on internally. Abdominal pain in general is a major reason why people go to the hospital. Kidney stones, they can quickly look at that, and you can see that that should be a pretty symmetrical picture there. What you have is a big black spot, which is a kidney stone. This is an appendicitis. I had one of those. I'll tell you a story about that. American medicine doesn't use ultrasound on appendicitis unless you're in the emergency room. So I went a month with an appendectomy and didn't know it. Went to my family physician. He finally diagnosed that I might have it. He then sent me to a radiologist who made me drink a bunch of dye. I waited an hour and a half, had about a 1-minute test. I asked the tech, what's the story? He goes, you've got appendicitis, bad one. But we've got to wait for the doctor to come in and give you the diagnosis. Of course, I'm not known for my patience. And I said, where the hell's the doctor? And he's out to lunch. Now, you can die from appendicitis because of the possibility of infection. So I raised hell. He showed me the film. And it took him less time to do the surgery on me than it did to do this test in radiology. And that's the problem with American medicine, and it's one of the things we're trying to fix. This is an example of a patient on the left whose heart is normal and has a pulse. The patient on the right has a pulse, but his heart is not moving. And what this tells the EMS people is that that patient is dead. And it changes what they do. Another little story. We first started the company. This is a very true story. The U.S. military took our product to France to show NATO, the surgeons within NATO. And they said, do you realize that if we had had that device in the ambulance, when we picked up Lady Di, that we would have saved her life? Lady Di had a tear in her aorta. And they picked her up and they were working on her in the ambulance. She died 100 feet from the hospital because they gave her adrenaline. They didn't know that she was filling up with fluid. They gave her adrenaline to make her heart pump faster. She drowned. They would have gone the other direction had they simply looked. This is a very true story, and it's very typical of medicine around the world. And we're helping that problem. This is an example of, on the left, you've got fluid on the heart. This happens all the time. One of the biggest problems you run into in medicine is there's a detached retina. Before I go back, one of the biggest problems you run into in medicine is you go to the hospital. The single biggest risk of going into a hospital is you acquire pneumonia. Hospital-acquired pneumonia is one of the biggest causes of death in America and in a hospital. It's very easily diagnosed by looking at fluid on the chest wall. I'll show you a picture of that in a moment. So these, again, are examples of just quick, easy ways where instead of using a stethoscope, you can quickly visualize a human body and make a big difference in a person's life. We had a 19-year-old kid go into University of California, Irvine, emergency room, DOA, dead. Doctor said, I'm going to take this ultrasound and just look and see if you've got any heart activity. He did. He found out he had a tear and his heart was slowing down. They rushed him to surgery. He was out of there 3 days later. DOA. So that's what I do for a living. It's obviously gets you up in the morning, and it's very interesting. Here's a little example of how we've been picked up. And it also illustrates what we do, but how we've been picked up by a lot of different TV shows.
Oh wow, we got a trauma. I didn't know. The page is probably not working. No, my page is working.
20-foot fall complicated by unknown intoxication.
What are you guys doing?
A femoral cut down?
Whoa. Everybody take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Get my briefcase under admin.
Banana cheese!
Hey, banana cheese. What do you think?
That's it. Tack it and dry this one. Get it.
Not versatile again. 2 weeks of IM.
He still needs access.
Rick James, bitch!
Close your eyes. What do you have to play, son?
And what time did the chem panel come back?
He's got weird anatomy. We couldn't find the subclavian.
There it is, there it is, right there. See, the probe allows us to cannulate the vein and get rid of visualization.
That's very cool.
You carry that around with you all the time?
It's just a demo. I ran the phase 3 trials. Beautiful.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Heart rate's down to 80.
I guess we...
So no, he was not in our phase 3 trials. We've been a prop on all the TV programs. In fact, they've taken to using the word, I'm going to Sonosite the patient, which for us is a great accomplishment. And no, I've never met George Clooney either. I've had many requests for that. So here's an example of a patient whose bladder is on the right, and to the left, that patient has obesity and drinking problem, and they have ascites, which is fluid around the bladder. And what they have to do is take the fluid off the body without sticking the needle in the bladder. And if they hit the bladder, big bad problems happen. And in the old days, they did it blind. This is lung fluid. This is what I was talking about earlier. So to the left, you see all that, that snowy black area. That's fluid building up on someone's lung. So in critical care, if someone's in critical care, all they have to do is look quickly. So we're trying to get hospitals to adopt this technology. And so we're dividing our company, focusing on health systems. There's 100 to 150 large corporations between 4 billion and 30 billion. You may not know this, that run American healthcare. It's a Fortune 500 industry now. They own over half the hospitals in the country. The biggest one is HCA, which I think is 36 billion. The smallest one is a couple billion. St. John's, for example, is a good-sized health system. But these health systems are rolling up into mega corporations, and they're approaching healthcare the same way Toyota and other high-reliability manufacturers have approached manufacturing. Another new phenomenon that's real interesting is regional nerve blocks. So if you ever had any orthopedic surgery, what's changing now, instead of putting you under a general anesthesia, they'll use ultrasound to find the nerves in the area of the operation, and they'll deaden those nerves with a couple different kinds of analgesic shots. So it's like getting a dental procedure. I had knee surgery a couple of years ago. I was awake for the whole thing. They gave me a nerve block. And so your leg is dead. You're awake talking to the doctor. And it doesn't require general anesthesia. It's much more successful in terms of both the procedure and also recovery. It's sweeping through the country right now. In countries like France, the patients actually request what's called a regional nerve block versus a general anesthetic. And that's another example there of one. Now here I want to move into the area of sports medicine. This is an area I'm looking forward to talking about. In America, unlike a lot of other countries like Australia and the UK, you can get fabulous health care there for athletic injuries, starting with ultrasound. And they do a terrific job of healing you, oftentimes without surgery. In America, they're starting to adopt this process. Orthopedic surgeons, sports medicine physicians, physiatrists, pain managers, and even rheumatologists. This is very important to understand, especially in the athletic department. And there's a trend taking over now in orthopedic medicine. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called PRP, platelet-rich plasma. This is being done on many, many major athletes at the professional level, and they use our devices to actually administer this. Tiger Woods got it, but many people have received it that you've heard of. Is also used routinely now at the Division I level for assessing athletic injuries. Jake Locker, the quarterback for the University of Washington, had a deep thigh bruise, couldn't practice. The athletic director physician, Kim Harmon, took our device, looked at his thigh, found a big pool of fluid, drained it. He was on the field that afternoon. Went down and played UCLA, asked the doctor to bring our machine, and had more fluid drained before the game, played great, and he said if we beat them, we're going to dedicate the game ball to the machine. This is becoming typical. Now PRP, let me tell you about it. Platelet-rich plasma. You have an athletic injury, a tendon, a muscle, a ligament, an Achilles, a hamstring, anything soft tissue. They will take blood out of your arm. They'll spin it in a centrifuge at very high speed for a long period of time, and at the bottom there is a layer of plasma that is platelet-rich. It has all your platelets in it. They suck that out, put it in a big syringe. They take ultrasound and they very, very carefully guide it in your body. And they pinpoint it. And what that does is accelerate healing by about a third. So it's known statistically to put an athlete back on the field about 1/3 faster under certain conditions. It's being looked at for arthritis and various other problems. It can't solve every problem, but it's being studied across the country quite aggressively. It's working. Really great guns. In fact, I'll show you a commercial here in a second with Dr. Steve Sampson out in LA. He's built a practice, including taking care of Kobe Bryant and a host of others, by being very, very good at this. It requires pinpoint accuracy in terms of locating the injection. And obviously, you have to understand the bioscience of PRP. Ultrasound is also used to find foreign bodies. This guy's a construction worker, and he's able to, or he's had a piece of wood in his hand. But we go to the NBA. We are a sponsor of the D-League, the Development League. Sonosite actually sponsored the All-Star game in LA, and I got to give away the MVP trophy to Corey Sims of Michigan State. It was a heck of a lot of fun. I was dying to go out there and shoot, but as Roger can tell you, that never worked out so well. But in any event, a lot of fun. We're a sponsor of the NBA as well. This is a little commercial for what I'm talking about.
Millions of people experience sports injuries every year. These injuries can bench an athlete for days, weeks, or even permanently. Ultrasound helps us detect injuries quickly and accurately.
I would use it on every injury just to see what the severity of the injury is.
Sonosite ultrasound is a powerful tool. It helps me get my patients back in the game, just like it does players.
So we're seeing trainers take this up. The other thing that's very interesting is our technology is used throughout the military. It was really originally developed for military applications. So the U.S. military, anything that moves regarding healthcare, they have our devices. That device is right there at the bottom is our original product. The one on the right is one of our newer products. But basically, our technology is all over MASH units in Iraq, Afghanistan, any mobile healthcare facility of any kind in our military is using this technology. And what's amazing is when you don't worry about reimbursement, it's amazing what these people actually do to save patients. It's phenomenal. They use common sense. If I can see it, I can fix it. They're able to basically diagnose long bone fractures and save a lot of lives. There's also another interesting story. You may know that the military strategy now is known as CounterInsurgency. And they learned this over in Iraq. So the idea today is you don't go over to a country like Iraq or Afghanistan and just start trying to kill everybody. What they're trying to do is get the Taliban off the villagers, separate, and then win the hearts and minds of the villagers. So one of the things they're doing is they're providing health care, and they're using our devices to do that. So it's kind of funny because they saved a few people some pain and suffering. And the villagers lined up around the street. They all insisted about having ultrasound on this little blue device, even though they didn't need it. They had a headache or an earache or something, and they were just demanding it. All they knew is if I had that ultrasound on my body, I'll get fixed. But it's helping them connect with the villagers. And the stories we hear from Afghanistan on the battlefield, they now give it to the medic. The medic is really basically right up next to the bottom of the foot of the mountain and is handling inbound casualties right there and saving kids' lives. And I'll tell you, I've worked with a lot of military physicians, phenomenal people. They never talk about money. You say, you've ever had any tours of duty? Yeah, I've been to Iraq 4 times, been to Afghanistan 5 times. And you talk about some of the things they do. One of our top customers was in the only Western hotel in Kabul when the Taliban took it over. He was walking the hallways with AK-47s. And he lived to tell about it, and that's their world. So war is not this idea on the TV like we're used to, but something very real for me when I listen to these guys talk. Field medicine, we're working our way into the emergency medicine world. We think in the near future when you get into an ambulance, God forbid, that you'll see one of our devices there to assess your heart, maybe put a catheter in your neck or something. Also, our technology is used all over Africa and the developed world for global public health. Here we have a device that we had 100 systems over in Haiti the week after the earthquake. And we actually, Sean Penn bought one from us. He was over there driving the relief effort. And this is literally an ultrasound being done on a woman whose baby is in distress and she's on the street. So this is how we look at our marketplace. It's kind of a hard math problem for those math people in the room. And someone says, well, how big is your market? Well, let's see. Anybody who can benefit from using visualization in medicine and make it better is a potential customer. I remind our people that we're always competing with those who simply don't use the technology. Now, since we started the company, we have been followed in by GE, Siemens, Philips, and Toshiba, and about 5 other companies. So we had no competition at the beginning. We have tons of competition now. And the way we have succeeded, we have about 40 to 60% market share depending on the country. So we have about a 2-to-1 market share on GE. And the way we succeeded is we stay totally focused, true to our values. We specialize. And you would be surprised how poorly run these larger companies are. If I were an undergrad coming out of college, I'd find myself a small and mid-sized company that's growing, where you're going to be asked to do a lot right away, and where you'll be pushed out of your comfort zone, and where if growth happens, you'll grow. These larger companies are really, they've been co-opted by Wall Street. They really have. We've let ourselves avoid that, but the truth is that Wall Street and your stock price runs a lot of the lives of a lot of people. And so, General Electric, for example, is well known. They'll ship a product to a hospital that doesn't work, but they'll take revenue for it, make the quarter, and then apologize the next quarter. And that's been their MO for years, and it makes it kind of easy to win, as you can imagine. Now this company here, we bought a company in June last year, Visual Sonics. They make ultrasound 10 times more intense and 10 times the resolution of regular ultrasound. This is the fetus inside of a mouse, and it's the size of a Tic Tac. It looks like an adult fetus. It runs at 50 megahertz ultrasound, and we think it has tremendous potential in clinical medicine. We plan to bring it out in a couple of years. So here's a great little example. When newborns come out and they are distressed in any way, they have to go into what's called the neonatal intensive care unit. And sometimes you've got to put a catheter in their leg. It's a very, very delicate process because these little guys are very small, their vessels are micro-sized, and they're hard to see. So on the right, there's a little picture from a conventional ultrasound of a vessel they're trying to cannulate. That's to put something into a catheter. And on the left is the same vessel using this new technology. You can see it looks like a garden hose. And so we're going to be bringing that into neonatal medicine and really immediately making it less traumatic to take care of a sick baby. So let me say that without meaning to sound remotely patronizing, it really did happen for me here at Monmouth College. I've long wished to come back and explain it to a few people. I'm glad you all came out today to hear me. A couple of other details for the undergrads. You're in a world now where you have tremendous opportunity. It's a great time to be an undergraduate, contrary to what the media says. One thing I learned at Stanford is one of the greatest things you can do is stop reading the papers, because it will distort your impression of reality. Same thing for the computer screen. Okay, this always connected is actually an illusion. It can detach you from reality. I have to remind my company constantly that we have one sales territory in Seattle out of 53. The rest of the customers are not in Seattle. And therefore, the business known as Sonosite is not in our corporate office. See, people get drugged by the computer screen, the iPhone, the BlackBerry, the tablet. They think that's the world, and it's not. So be very careful how you let technology use you, no matter what you go out and do. The other thing, you can't go out in the world today and not be able to make some meaning out of data. You've got to have some basic statistics. I didn't have that coming out here. It was my fault, not the school's. I went and got it. But you'd be surprised. We're awash in data now. We look at sports management. Sports management today, the most progressive sports management programs at the NCAA level are run very much with data. Look at Butler. Look at any NCAA football program. Data is driving everything. So I don't care whether you're in sports management, education, business, or whatever, you've got to be able to take data and make meaning from it. And I'm talking basic statistical interpretation. I'm not talking about advanced PhD in probability. I'm talking about being able to take data, look at a min, max, and a mean, a standard deviation, shape of the curve, a few other items, and be able to say, okay, this is what we've got. Here's what the facts say, as opposed to what many people do, MBAs in particular. Here's all the data, Kevin. Figure out what you think is important. And you can quickly be misled by data. So I encourage you not to leave school without being comfortable with statistics, whatever field you're in. And if I was going to redo it and I was going to go into sports, I think I'd really have a strong basis in statistics, because that seems to be really taking over how sports management's getting done. But certainly in business, you'll be shocked at how many people make a lot of money that cannot do basic statistics. And they need to do basic statistics, and it's very frustrating that they can't do it. So, a few other things. Most importantly, you've heard this before, find what you're passionate about. That stems from curiosity. Immerse yourself in that. If you do that, you can take a good risk. Curiosity leads you to really deeply understanding something. And when you get immersed in something, you're really not taking as big of a risk as you think. I took the approach early of chasing a job with a price tag, and that's very unrewarding. You've got a chance to set your pace, your direction now, coming out of school. And I urge you to find out what you're interested in, find that curiosity, and stick with that passion. I think that one relationship here at the school can turn your life around. I mean, I wasn't failing. I wasn't miserable. Dr. Lemon has forever affected me in terms of how my career went. I still use what I learned from him. I still remember details of our conversations we had that 30 years later are relevant in my life. And that's the beautiful thing at Monmouth College, I think. Monmouth is encouraging. It's a small liberal arts college with a real commitment to improving academic excellence. Got a great sports program. Absolutely penthouse grade facilities now, and very impressive campus. And I think you've got a great future in front of you. I hope that the idea of curiosity sinks in somehow today. And I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this presentation. Thank you.
And thank you, Kevin, for a wonderful presentation. Very inspirational. We have about 5 minutes for questions, so that means we can do about 3 questions. If the questions are short and the answers are short, and since we only have 3, let's see if we can do them from students. Who's got a question?
Throughout the speech, you mentioned that undergrads you sometimes like more than people with MBAs. You kind of touched on it, but I was wondering what the specific reason was.
Great question. Here's what the track looks like for MBAs. Most MBAs that we run into, 95%, do very well in school. They're typically pretty high on the intellectual scale. They go off to business school. They get turned into analytical people who are very, very analytical, who learn everything about business from a book. And you make an investment in that education. You come out, and your readiness in business is actually flawed. Because what we need you to do is to go into business and have an impact and not have expectations that you're going to land on high because you're intellectually more advanced. That's not really true. And so what's happened is there's been a big backlash in American business because these folks come out of school, they have huge expectations. They think they can run your company. I've run into people that run millions of dollars in New York of pension money. Maybe your pension money. Okay, they couldn't run my switchboard. But they'll sit there and they will talk about strategy from Harvard Business School like they know it. But the problem is it's not in the book. It's out there. So I urge you, if you're thinking a graduate degree in business, go work for 3 or 4 years. A very nice alternative is to go to the executive program. I went to the program where we had a 7-week boot camp, 6 days a week at Stanford in the summer. And we went through a 1.5 years of the MBA curriculum. This is after working many years. Much better. I don't deny there's things to be gained, for sure. But oftentimes you get pigeonholed into an analytical pigeonhole. You're basically a guy who can run spreadsheets and run numbers. And I don't know if you want to do that, but it's not very fun. And so typically kids want to get in the real game. And that's what undergraduates have. They have an advantage. It's like, look, we can take this kid, we can put him in a sales job, we can put him in marketing, we can have him do this, product management, program management, and we can see what they do. And if they work it out, we'll move them up. You're already better off.
Another question.
I have a big voice. Can you talk a little bit about your investment and the importance of ongoing R&D specifically?
Yes, for many years I thought the name of the game was to actually cut R&D costs so we could make more money, and how wrong I was. It took me a little slow, so it took us a while. But we basically figured out that every time we make a new product for a new market, we can make a 5x return in the first year usually, or thereabouts. And the incremental cost of R&D isn't that high. Investors, actual real investors, they want you to take your money and they want you to invest it in something. That's why they hired you. So as a result, that is a paradigm that's a little bit paradoxical. You think you're supposed to cut, in fact you should invest. We increased our investments in R&D over the last 5 years by 75%, and our stock price went up, which is surprising. The other comment I want to make is, I forgot to make it earlier, you must be fluent in the online world. You don't have to be a social media freak, but you need to be very fluent coming out of this college in online technology. You need to understand how it operates. We just put 40 kids through a mini MBA at Rutgers over a week, and it's totally focused on online marketing. It's quite an important place to look.
One more question.
I have a short two-part question. First of all, the Mayo Clinic, I believe, would be an example of a healthcare entity which is outside of the corporate health industry. Are they using your product?
Yes, actually, we are in virtually every health system in the United States of any meaning and really all over the world. And oftentimes, because our price point's not very high, if you go ask the CEO who's ever heard of Sonosite, he'll say no. You go down to purchasing, they have 10 or 20 inside their facility. So our technology is making its way everywhere. We're heading down toward the community level now. And so I won't be surprised. We may already be in Monmouth Hospital. But certainly it's a very simple idea, I would think you might think, and it's being adopted more broadly now.
And I was also curious about the training. According to your presentation, this product's used a lot out in the field by not necessarily people who've gone to ultrasonography school.
There you go, good question.
So how do you provide the training to use the equipment correctly?
That's a real good question. Well, we're from the ultrasound industry, so we commit millions every year to teach people how to use it. But the difference is this. We're not teaching an emergency physician how to look at your abdomen and diagnose cancer. We're teaching them how to have a goal in mind. Do you have abdominal bleeding? Do you have a gallstone? Do you have a tubal pregnancy? Very simple, clear-cut, targeted exam. We teach them how to acquire the information and then make the decision. And that's actually very doable. Now, what we fight is people in the establishment saying, oh, no, you need all kinds of training to be like us. Well, that's because it's more expensive, and you get the revenue. So the emergency physicians often, as an example, will just take care of the patient. They don't even bill for it, but they're real happy if they save a life. And it's truly how it works out.
And I'm going to steal the last question. When we had dinner last night, you gave me two pieces of advice that I'd actually heard from some of your classmates the previous 2 days. First was, get involved in Brazil. And the second is, stay with this idea of integrated learning, whether it's integration of science and business or integration of anything else on campus. Why Brazil and why integrated learning?
Well, great question. If you come out of school and you're specialized academically, then we look at you and say, all right, what can we do with you? First of all, we're going to assess who you are. And then we're going to say, where can we go with you? And so if you've got, for example, if you're a heavy, strong science student, you've got some business training, you're really valuable. You've got that rigor, you've got that math, you've got that scientific method to go with you, you've got understanding. So integrated learning is absolutely where it is going forward. What Maury refers to as intersections is one of the greatest ideas that has hit business in the last 10 years, popularized by Ram Charan, a very, very well-noted business scholar. So intersecting your educational disciplines is a great idea. It's a great lever, even if you don't come out with a real degree in an integrated discipline. I came out of college with a BA in business with an emphasis on hospital management. It made a difference. As far as Brazil, I've been watching Brazil for 20 years. It's a very interesting economic story. That country has finally got up on its feet, and it's a very interesting country. It's big, 90 million and growing. It has a very strong domestic economy. I actually went so far as to learn Brazilian Portuguese because I thought it was that important. And it really is a great opportunity. It's quietly becoming more important, I think, in the long term than China and India. When I go to China and India, the average wage over there is $20,000, $30,000 per person. So they only have so much money to spend. And yes, wealth is happening and all kinds of things are happening in the aggregate economic growth. But in Brazil, you've got people like you and I who get paid $75,000, $80,000 a year or better to go to work. And they want to spend that money. And the thing that has changed is inflation. Inflation at one time, when I first went down there, was, I think it was 10% a month, maybe more. So people, they had the fastest check clearing system in the world. You could write a check in Monmouth, and it would clear San Diego by noon. And they did that because you can't hold cash, right? Because it's getting worth less. That's gone now. They've solved that problem. That is a scary big opportunity, and if I were in your shoes and I had an interest, I'd do some internship work down there. I'd find my way down there. It's a great country, great people, and just tremendous opportunity. I would not overlook it.
Justine, you're on.